Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie O'Leary and Alec Craftwell. We are on day 61 of the defensive coordinator watch, and we still do not have the role filled. Tomorrow will mark day 62, which will match how long it took to hire Robb Smith last year. We're going to get into some recent developments, where we go from here, and talk about what could be next in this search. But before we get into that, this podcast is presented to you once again by FanDuel. The big game, aka Super Bowl 60, is just 5 short days away. Alex, Seattle Seahawks will be taking on the much hated New England Patriots, who are going to be in their 11th Super Bowl, I think, in the last 25 years, which is just absurd. Some bets I've already made for this game: Kenneth Walker over his receiving yardage, Drake May over his rushing yardage, a few touchdown props sprinkled in there. But I think it'll be a fun game. Maybe not the highest scoring Super Bowl you've ever seen, but should be entertaining. Pretty hectic last 48 hours in the defensive coordinator search, in a search that has been very tight-lipped, to say the least. Very much like a government operation. Very few people seem to know really anything or are willing to talk. Richie got a tip on Sunday from a source that Rutgers had Nick Lazinski, the co-defensive coordinator and linebackers coach at Vanderbilt, as a candidate. And we kind of filed that one away. We posted it to the boards. The following day, from a different source, one who's connected to the just general college coaching universe, confirmed to me that Nick Lazinski was, in fact, a candidate for the role. And not only was he a candidate, he was actually speaking directly with Rutgers on Monday, which was yesterday. This morning, we found out that Nick Lazinski had pulled out of the search. He decided to not take the role, or decided not to pursue the role any further. And we're kind of left wondering kind of what's been going on. Why are things kind of still at day, why are we 2 months out from a defensive coordinator hire after the same exact scenario played out last year with Robb Smith? Rich, generally speaking, what's kind of your feel to the pulse of why this is taking so long once again?
Where do we begin? It's not an attractive job for multitude of reasons. Schiano's always going to have his hands in the defense. He's not an easy coach to work for. We've said this multiple times. It's very well known throughout the coaching world. Money's there, so I guess you're going to get more money, but you have to make it worth their while too. Like, it's also a very risky job because, like, for example, Robb Smith was the DC for what? When did he get hired? Late January, February even? I don't even remember.
He got hired in the beginning of February of 2025. Yeah. Way
less than a year, and he got let go. He actually lost his play calling duties about 7-8 months into his 3.0 tenure. Shocking, right? For a guy that got previously let go, previously fired at multiple spots. It just is what it is. So between it not being attractive, between it a hard guy to work for, that's why we're on day 61 again. Like, it is Groundhog Day, basically. It just keeps happening every year at this point. And on top of it, like, if you think, like, your best defensive coordinator in recent history, Joe Harris-Simiak, right? Mm-hmm. The best jobs he could get were, and he didn't even really get offered this one. He was the runner-up for this one in James Madison. And then the other offer that he got was UMass. It's not a great job either. So it is just, it's not like there's a whole track history that you could look back to and be like, hey, come here and we'll get you into that next level. Like, when's the last time a DC at Rutgers got a head coaching gig other than Harris-Simiak? Like, and it's not even a good head coaching gig. Oh. Yeah. Obviously, like, Fran Brown went from a secondary coach to Georgia and then got a head coaching gig. Like, I don't know if he gets that Syracuse offer if he's still at Rutgers. So
yeah, probably not.
There's a ton of different, ton of reasons, and those are the main three. But it's just, you combine them all together, and it's just yikes.
Alec, how about your high-level take on kind of where things stand with this DC search and maybe why we're still here?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the timing just hasn't worked out for really anything where you miss on a couple, like we were talking about, earlier on in the cycle back in December. It seemed like there were some interviews that happened where he wasn't, overly blown away or impressed. And then since then, it's just kind of snowballed from there for a lot of the reasons that we've talked about that, make the job not as desirable as a lot of the others, or pretty much all of the others, except for, one in the Big Ten that's gotten filled. And that one just opened like 3 days ago. So, yeah, it's kind of just a combination of a lot of things. I feel like it's just gone wrong from there. Um, but like at this point, we have no idea who any of the candidates could be. I mean, before we had heard about Lazinski, we were kind of saying the same thing after the Ola Adams hype kind of went and came and went. So there'll probably be someone else that pops up, I would guess, but I don't know. I don't know where they go from here. I haven't known where they would go next for probably about 50 days now. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and we know a little bit about kind of why things went the way they did last year. Like there were a lot of candidates that had actually pretty strong connections to Schiano who were more than qualified for the role. It just seems like maybe they were aiming a little too high with who they were trying to hire, which is, I'd rather aim high and not hit a high target than aim low and end up with somebody who doesn't really, I don't know, who isn't qualified early on. So to go after a guy like Corey Heatherman last year, to go after a guy like Anthony Campanelli, to go after some high-level Big Ten assistants like Seth Wallace, to try and get sitting defensive coordinators like Joe Rossi, like I think that's warranted. Like that makes sense. But to like this cycle, I feel like there was just so much pressure to get this right. And I don't know if that caused him to be more selective with who he's looking at, or if the job had become kind of like a toxic asset where like last year went so poorly on defense and there's so much pressure to put a competent product on the field that nobody who has really any other options is going to take this job. And because like you said, Rich, money, like Rutgers can offer very, very competitive packages in terms of their salary for the role. They're not going to be able to offer like we're not going to be able to pay like Bryant Haynes money. Like we're not going to pay $3 million for a coordinator.
Mm-mm.
But I think realistically, if Schiano in some weird hypothetical universe, Bryant Haynes contacted Greg Schiano and said, "Hey, I want to work for you, but the money has to be right." Like, I think that would be a situation where Kelly Zinn would find a way to make the money work. Like, but there are no candidates like that who want to just come to work for Greg, it seems, despite, the ability to pay in the upper 10 percentile of coordinator roles in the right situations. Now, Nick Lazinski, he's been a co-defensive coordinator at Vanderbilt. He hasn't called plays there. Do you think that if he would have come on, that Greg still would have called plays and maybe that was a big deterrent in taking the role? As you think that might be a big deterrent for a lot of guys who are interviewing right now, that Greg wants to call plays and kind of have you come in and be an understudy or be a DC in title only? And I know this is like a lot of, trying to, maybe cope in some ways, try and, decipher what the hell's going on with very little evidence. But Rich, what's your kind of take on, are guys being brought in, you think, to be the true defensive coordinator or just kind of be in title only?
I think they're at the point where they're looking at guys that would be title only, just because like Lazinski never has called plays. So like if you're going to go get a DC that's never called plays before, you almost have to interfere and be like, hey, I'm going to call the plays and I'm going to try to groom you into the defensive coordinator role. And you can get the play calling down the line. But like if you're at the point where you're 60 days in and looking at guys that have never called plays in their entire coaching career, I feel like you're at the bottom of the barrel now, right? Am I not wrong on that? It's just it's so ugly. And again, the defense is essentially his baby. Like he's a defensive coach by trade. He's going to be involved no matter what, even if the guy is calling plays. But like we've heard in the past, like he's adamant about certain things. He said it to us in his year-end wrap-up press conference. Like scheme-wise, like he's just attached to certain schemes. He's not going to change that much from that. Will he switch to a A 3-4. No, probably not. Well, is he going to switch and who else was running like a 2-4 this year? Someone was running it. I forget who it was. Anyway, not the point.
I mean, I know Tony White in Nebraska runs 3-3-5.
3-3-5.
Nebraska now Florida State.
What did I say? I said 3-4. Yeah, 3-3-5. Yeah. He's not going to switch to a 3-4 even. Like it's just not. He's not going to change from the 4-2-5, which is whatever. But he's also going to have, no matter who the DC is, it's still his playbook at the end of the day, and they're going to add their wrinkles. That was the same thing we heard last offseason when Robb Smith came in. It's like Robb Smith still runs the same scheme, and it's still going to be Greg's playbook, but they're just going to put in Robb Smith's wrinkles that he's learned over the years, whether it be at Penn State, Arkansas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I do think overall they're at the point where they're just going to look. You have to extend that search a little bit and just kind of keep looking for guys that don't have play calling experience, guys that are willing to come in and be like, hey, I might be the DC in name, but in reality, I'm probably not going to call the plays. Even if he is calling the plays, it could be like a co-DC type thing like last year. Whereas Greg is that other co-DC. Like he's going to have the play sheet in front of him. And I just want to, like, he's going to overrule you if you're the coach and he sees something that you don't see or thinks he should be doing this instead. Like if they're going to call like a blitz on second down, I could see Greg having the play sheet in front of him the whole game and be like, no. We're not doing that. Run cover 2. Like do it now. And Greg has the power to override that. And I think that's a bad, not a bad factor, but it's just like not a lot of coaches want to deal with that. Like they want to call their defense.
And I want to point this out that like I think might be getting lost a bit. Like I don't think any of us ultimately would have a problem with Greg calling the defense. Like he has done it well in the past. He's done it at a high level at different stops at Miami, Ohio State. Like he is a very good defensive coordinator. I think where things kind of went off the rails with how last year went is that he had to basically like rip the wheel away from Robb Smith, who was just so incompetent that it was just he was not even running a defense that could like in almost any scenario help you win a game. So it did get better under Schiano last year, but it didn't turn in the worst defense in Big Ten history from like a yards per play standpoint to like average. It turned him just like to a regularly bad defense. So I think we all know how regimented Greg Schiano is. We all know how much he likes to stick to a plan and a schedule. And I think if he gets the entire off season to kind of establish himself as defensive coordinator, build out schedules with, game planning and, meetings with the defense, I'm fine with that. Like, I think if he has that kind of built into the 2026 season, I think it could be a significantly better defense. But the problem I think I and a lot of people have is that there's just like it seemingly like a lack of conviction with that decision. We've been telling you guys for months now that option was on the table, but it was one that he didn't necessarily want to do. And if he would have named himself as the DC on December 21st, there would have been pushback. Some people would have been disappointed, but at the same time, I think people would be like, okay, he's just decided like, I think I'm the best man for this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick up the reins and this is going to be my defense. I'm going to own it. But the fact that we're now in early February, and if that decision now is announced, like it's really hard to spin this as like the thing you really wanted to do, as something that like wasn't just because like a dozen people turned you down again. Like it's not a good look. And he likes to control narratives. He likes to control the talking points about his program. And I think this is one that's really just kind of gotten away from Rutgers at this point. Like there's no way to spin this in a way that makes this look like the plan or even like plan D. Like this is just, it's a bad look. And I posted this on the boards. Rich, how many coaches, agents, publishers have reached out to you over the last like few weeks to month about like, what's going on with this Rutgers defensive coordinator thing? Because I've gotten a lot of people who've just randomly hit me up and been like, what the hell is going on?
Too many. Even as of this morning, I'm still getting multiple texts. Like, it's just like, they're like confused. It just doesn't make sense. Like 60 days is absurd. And if you were going to name yourself to DC, you should have just done it already. You're at the point where like you have no defensive assistants. Like even if you do name yourself to defensive coordinator, you still have to find defensive assistants that are willing to work with you. You're at the point where I don't know who wants to come in and work with you because the feeling among some coaches that I've talked to around college football is also that his seat's starting to get a little bit warmer. They got a new regime there. Like, how much is that going to be pushed back? We've heard contradicting things. We've heard one side say like there is no pressure. We've heard another side say that they're starting to get pressure on him. So now it's also in the fact, like, how much longer is he going to be there? I think he's there personally until he wants to retire. That's just my opinion. But you got to find people that are willing to work with you. Now, it's not an easy job. We know so many coaches that have ended up leaving Rutgers that are just like, man, like I couldn't do it anymore. Like, it's just too much for me. It's just like with the players, like when he's recruiting transfers, like there was one kid that just basically said like, yeah, no, I'm good. I can't do that. Like, I'm not doing what you guys do in practice. It's a hard job. It's a hard program to work for. And if you're not successful quick enough now, you're probably going to get canned. So it's just really tough. And the fact that there's no defensive assistants is even tougher because you're sending like Luke Carazola on the road. And no offense to him, but like he's not a full-time assistant coach. Like, what is he supposed to say to these guys? You have two defensive coaches technically in full-time roles, and that's Charlie Noonan and Julian Campenny. You have no one else on that defensive staff. It is insane. You can't even host junior days because you don't have anyone on the defensive staff. They're trying to push that back to the first week of March, which is just crazy because like that's where you kind of,
it's very late for junior day.
Yeah. That's kind of where you get your like, it's usually last weekend in January or last 2 weekends in January. Hell, there were some programs hosting them during the portal window. Like it's just, now you're not going to get your first interaction with these kids in the 2026 calendar year until March. Like, you're just wasting time at this point. I think if you're going to be the DC, just say it already. Just say, screw it, I'm the DC. I'm going to go find assistant coaches. Now, maybe he doesn't do that. Maybe he ends up kind of waiting a little bit and waiting till he has a couple assistant coaches that have agreed upon in terms of verbal agreements. And then you can announce it all at once and be like, I'll be the DC. Here's my D-line coach. Here's my linebackers coach. Here's my safeties, corners, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't know when you start doing that. Like, this is day 61. Like, this is just absolutely absurd. And the only other job that's kind of open right now is Illinois. I guarantee that gets filled within 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that one just opened like a couple of days ago too.
Yeah.
The only other Power 4 defensive coordinator role that's open still is Louisville, which opened on December 29th after their bowl game. They had some co-DCs, Ron English and one other coach, and they've been open for a little over a month, and their fan base is going crazy about it too. So,
yeah. I mean, if Rutgers is going to go the route of Greg Schiano running the defense, there are certainly some concerns there as well. I mean, namely, is he putting too much on his plate being the head coach? And I mean, yeah, he was very, very good as the defensive coordinator, back in the glory days of, 20 years ago, but it's a whole different job now than it was 20 years ago. So how much is he going to be stacking on his plate, to do both, the defensive game planning, play calling, all that stuff that goes into that job. And then also all the things that factor into being a head coach. Now, I know that, Kelly Zinn and the administration has certainly helped with kind of taking a lot of the fundraising stuff off of him directly, but I'm sure he's still going to have a hand in that, and he's still going to at least be somewhat involved in that. Is he going to be overloading himself where, you're just doing too much, where, you might be really good at a few different things, but if you're overloading yourself by doing too many different things at once, you're not going to be as good at anything, really. And then there's the factor of where are you going to find these position coaches to actually hire to, be the position coaches? Where are you going to find these guys at this point? Because again, it's February 3rd. Like, a lot of these staffs are basically fully in hand, are mostly set up. Where are you going to find these assistant coaches that are going to come to you to be the position coaches for the defense? There are multiple worries. Even if Rutgers opts to go with that route, each day that, that it isn't resolved in one sense, whether it's Schiano himself doing it or him finding someone else, like, you're getting close to spring practices and you still don't have a staff. So I don't know where you're going to find these guys.
That's the other thing. Like 30, 40 days in, you should have just like self-reflection. Like, all right, I'm not going to find a guy. I'm going to be the guy. Let's start looking at assistant coaching candidates. Like, sure, you can go pluck the lower levels of I don't even know if you could pluck a G5 guy. Like, it's going to be tough. Like, you might have to go lower than that. Like, to go pluck like a DC from Rhode Island or something, who we know they've liked in the past. Like, that's one guy, but it's at the point where like anything at this point, like, you need assistant coaches to physically like recruit. Like, you cannot recruit right now at all. Like, offensive side, sure. And you're noticing that because they're offering a bunch of offensive kids. They're talking to a bunch of offensive kids. It's an easy sell. Hey, look at the offense. Defense, it's like, yeah, sorry, we don't have anyone here yet. We don't know yet. No comment. Like,
yeah, no, and there's certain guys who like David Rowe. I feel like if Greg Schiano was going to be the DC, he was probably somebody that Greg would have probably wanted to keep. Like, but he had told a lot of guys, hey, like, I want to give the DC autonomy to, fill in his staff a bit. So if you are interested, go look for another job. Or maybe it wasn't implicitly said like that, but the insinuation is like, you might not be here long. Got to do what you got to do. Because, yeah, like you said, like, I don't think he'll have trouble pulling like FCS or G5 assistants, but there's no way if a guy just moved from like, I don't know, let's just throw two random schools. Let's say somebody went from the linebackers coach at Purdue to the linebackers coach at Virginia. Like, there's no way that they're moving to Rutgers at this point. Like, those level coaches are just kind of, they've settled in, like they're starting to prepare for 2026. So you are going to have to kind of scoop a little bit lower, maybe not get some of the guys you ideally would have gotten if you were named the self DC on December 21st. But I don't mind that you went big game hunting again, if that's what ended up happening. But I think at some point you just have to have a better sense of, like, I don't know, if you have a good hand in poker or not. Like, that you can play a hand out until the river with 2-7 offsuit. But if you have, a pair of sevens and you've been, somebody raised pre-flop and like, all the cards on the table are showing that you probably have a losing hand, you should probably not waste time in that hand. And that just feels like he just plays a lot of bad hands way too late into, the card game, rather than understanding maybe I shouldn't try and sail south because the winds are blowing north. I don't know. It's been tough to cover this.
I should take it back. Like, he could probably get G5 assistants, but it's not gonna be the top level G5 guys. Like, it's gonna be the lower level G5 guys that would come on board. Yeah. Like, and there's still some names out there. Like Dennis Taunton Carter is one I would go after in a heartbeat. I feel like they should have went after him regardless of who the DC is. Like, he's a damn good D-line coach. He's proven it at every stop he's been at. Minnesota, UConn. Like, he's produced talent and draft picks everywhere he's gone. Like, if you don't give him a phone call for that D-line job, I would just be shocked. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. How he doesn't have a job right now is still mind-boggling. But, I mean, other than that, there's really not many decent names at these position groups that I'm looking at. Like, I guess technically what you could do, you could just bump like Charlie Noonan, the linebackers coach, since he did it before at Lehigh. Like, screw it. Like, bump him back, get a new D-line coach, and I don't know.
I mean, I guess you'd still have Cam Penny if you want to keep him around as the D-line coach.
Well, I wouldn't promote him personally, but
or if you keep him at like outside linebackers or whatever.
Edge linebackers, whatever the hell it's called now. He changes his role every year. Defensive ends one year, edge rushers the next year. Now it's outside linebackers. It's still the same fucking position. Stop changing it.
I want to get to some of the questions in the chat because we haven't really touched on any of those, but I know there's a few specific like events that are upcoming that would make sense to have a staff in place for, or at least like, I don't know, a coordinator in place. Rich, there's a New Jersey coaching convention that's this weekend that Greg Schiano usually speaks at. I'm sure he'd rather have this whole situation behind him ahead of that. So he's just not answering questions about it. Do you think that he's kind of pressed up against it at this point, time-wise? Like, this is like the last week he could legitimately like make a hire. Or every time we've said that, we've, what's the quote? It's like, man comes up with a plan and God laughs, or something like that. Does it feel like that?
Kind of. It seems like he wanted to get this Lazinski thing done. We didn't really. I know we touched on it. We didn't touch on it a ton, but like, it sounded like he wanted to get this done. Like, Lazinski was the guy, their top target. They had some conversations prior to that. Then they had a conversation Monday night, and it was just like, yeah, no, I'm good, thanks, dude. Like, I think he wanted to get it done by Friday, so that way he didn't have a bunch of high school coaches at the NJFCA like convention just saying like, hey, what's the deal? Who's the DC? Who's this, that? Now, I guess he could technically just go in there and be like Friday, like, yeah, I'm going to call the defense. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's just, I think he wanted to get it done by then, ideally, but now he's going to have to answer all those questions as of right now, unless he somehow gets it up and done by Friday. Friday at 8. Oh, it starts at 8. Oh, check-in's at 8 a.m., but it's from 9 to 4, so it's all day long. It's like the coach's clinic, basically.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know why I deluded myself into thinking like this definitely wouldn't happen again this offseason, but like I legitimately thought like he would take a different approach to things. And I don't want to say it's like you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but like I don't know, I guess when you get to a certain level in any profession, like you have to have this like ludicrous level of self-confidence to the point of maybe like it's like your ego's huge, but like you've only gotten there because you've taken that mindset. And I think Schiano legitimately thought that he was going to be able to attract a certain level of candidate that just hasn't come to fruition. And I mean, you want a coach to have the self-belief to believe that he can do things that maybe are a little outside of the realm of possibility sometimes, because that's the only way you're going to like break through any kind of glass ceiling on a program. But I don't know. I just hope that there's some self-reflection after how this whole situation's played out again this offseason.
The whole offseason's been a disaster. Like the portal haul, like we're grading it as a C.
Do we want to say disaster though? I don't think
not disaster, but it's not
horrible, but it's not like what we like to the level of quality we expected.
Yeah, I expected it to be better than what it was. Like I'm still going with a C-. I'm not changing that anytime soon. Like unless they just randomly pull some rabbits out of their hats, which I don't see happening considering it's already spring basically, and everyone's already taken. I don't know. It's just between the portal haul being meh, between the DC search now 60 plus days again, no defensive assistants for 40 plus days around there, something like that. I know they all left at different times, so give or take, whatever. But it's just it's such a bad PR too, I feel like, because like there's so many randoms like from other sites that are like, yo, what's going on there? And I'm like, I didn't even know you knew about it. Like I didn't think anyone cared about it other than this little community we have, and that's it. And nope, apparently everyone's just staring from afar and just being like, wow, no DC. Like you saw the one post today, no DC, we're in debt, like no defensive coaches, transfer portal haul was mid. Like
yeah, you had a random Power 2 coach reach out to you today and ask that doesn't have a relationship with Rutgers, asking what's going on. And it wasn't because they were interviewing. They just wanted to know. And you didn't have their number before today, right?
No, I did not. I didn't know who it was. At first, I'm like, hello, who are you? Why are you texting me? How'd you get my number? More importantly. But yeah, just a random Power 2 assistant. And he's just like, I was like, are you like a candidate for this job? And he's like, no, not at all. I was just curious just because everyone's like talking about it. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
I do want to point something out that I think is fair that Thomas K 1132 said. He said Greg is probably the best DC we could have gotten on the open market day one. The problem is we have no position coaches. I don't disagree that Greg is about as good of a DC that we could have at Rutgers calling plays. It's just like the whole process of getting to him is just so badly bungled that it feels like it's not something they wanted, and it would require like just a lot of spin to kind of make it sound like anything more than a back burner plan. Rich, you look like you just said something.
No, sorry, I just saw something with the NBA.
I was another trade that I don't know. Kind of what I was thinking was I feel like we talked about this a few times about a few different happenings where the result, if this were to be where it goes, if Schiano does end up just running the defense himself, the result isn't totally a bad thing in a vacuum, but the way that it came to this really kind of doesn't paint a very good light, I would say.
It just should have been done so much earlier if that's the case. Like if you struck out or you didn't see, like, remember we heard in December, like he interviewed some people and he just didn't like those guys. Like, okay, that's fine. All right. Even go into January a little bit and be like, all right, I still can't find anyone. Screw it. I'm going to be the DC. I'm going to start interviewing assistant coaches. And you have to hope at this point, that's what he's doing, right? Like, It's just
I think the problem with him running the defense was that it was like a last resort type thing. Like, if it gets to the point where kind of, I guess, the point that we're at right now, then it'll happen. I think it was really low on. Now this is just me guessing, but I'm guessing based on kind of what we'd heard throughout the process. I'm assuming it was very far down the list where it's like Plan Z, but I think at this point we're at Plan AA right now, past Plan Z.
Yeah, for the Excel nerds, when you scroll past Z, it just starts doubling up. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know. If anyone wants to join us and has any talking points that we haven't brought up, I'm going to drop the link in the chat again. Feel free to hop on. If you don't, that's fine too.
I mean, like I said before, if he's at the point where he's hiring, if he's interviewing guys that have never called plays before, I feel like we're at Plan AA, Plan BB, whatever. Like, it's not even a DC at that point. Like, just hire him as the linebackers coach. Give him the same fucking title. Co-DC / linebackers. Here you go, buddy.
I mean, that's probably what's got to be at this point, right? Unless we have a late Hail Mary that gets caught in the end zone here. It's probably going to be some Zach Sparber-like candidate who comes in and has a co-DC role, but only in title, and Greg calls the plays.
Even him, he had to pay eight times the salary.
Yeah, I mean, which I'm fine with. Like, if that was the decision that was made in December, not February. But, yeah, we've talked a ton of. These seem to be like the same kind of things we've circled around for several weeks now. So I don't want to like just continually repeat these things. Just that we're still in the same place. Hopefully, we have more answers soon. But it's just to get like the first concrete, true, like well-sourced reports. Not that the Ola Adams stuff wasn't. This just we had 2 or 3 sources confirming it, and like throughout the whole process for it not to have worked out is definitely a gut punch for sure.
It's a gut punch day 60.
That too. I will say Jaden Jones Burner on Twitter has put in an application for the defensive coordinator, so we'll see how that works out.
I mean, Burner, that is Jaden Jones, dude.
Also, I got water and Gatorade. Gatorade's too sugary. Like, I don't know when it happened, but just randomly decided to start.
He says water as he's drinking a margarita.
It's day 62. Who can blame me?
Yeah, I don't think anyone. Someone was joking on our boards and said like BYOB like for the pod today. I was like, no, dude, it's Tuesday.
At 2:30, 2:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday.
But the club does go up on a Tuesday.
Oh boy. What else? Anything else about the DC search that we want to touch on?
We do have a guest.
We do have a guest. See Brad. Let's bring him to the stage. See Brad. What's going on, man? You might be.
Yo, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. What's up, man?
Yeah. Is this working? Oh, you can hear me. All right. You can see me too. I didn't mean to do that, but I guess fuck it. Rich, have you started a hot board yet for every defensive position coach?
It's actually funny you said that. I did start doing that today, but it's not finished yet. I'm working on it still. It's hard to do because it's usually based on connections, and obviously it's running out of connections. So
learn all this. No, so like my main question was going to ask. Yeah, this is crazy. Hold on.
Yeah, see, Brad, I don't know if it was your connection or what, but we were getting like every third word from you. And so if you want to rejoin, feel free to click the link again. But
that is funny though, because I did start doing one, but it's just like we've posted multiple hot boards of defensive coaches already. It's just kind of rehashing a little bit, but there's a couple new names, but yeah.
From when Rowe left, when Vic Hall left, when
Farrell. I don't think I did a D-line one, did I? I did.
Yeah,
I did.
I think you did. Because Dotton Carter was on it.
Yep, correct.
All right, see, Brad, let's try this again. We got
Sorry again. I took the Wi-Fi off. Do I sound better?
You do sound better.
100%.
All right. So the main question I was going to ask is like, are coaches also looking at like, like the transfer portal haul that they brought in aligned with what they already had on the roster and being like, this is dog water. Why would I even risk this? Like, I know it's obviously like a risk to take this job, but I feel like it's just the perfect storm of so many things this offseason that it's just like, how the fuck did we get here, man? Like, it's just like, I don't know. Rich knows I'm always trying to be as hopeful as possible, but like, if I'm this beaten down, man, there's an issue.
I mean, yeah, they absolutely look at that kind of stuff. Like they look at how the guys being brought in performed at their last stop. They look at, the portal recruiting rankings. They look at they look at all this stuff. Their agents help them kind of decipher this. They talk to people who might have worked with different coaches. Like it's such an incestuous community. Like you're very rarely more than like 2 degrees of separation from like any head job in the country. Mm-hmm. So like there are people in your orbit who have direct relationships with Schiano who can give you the 411, who can tell you, hey, they added Malachi Davis. Let me talk to my buddy who's, best man in his wedding is Toledo's defensive line coach. Is this kid like all he's cracked up to be? Like they do their research without a doubt because these are such huge, every move you make, for the most part, all these coaches eventually want to be head job guys eventually. Some guys don't, but they're the rare exception. So like each step along the way has to be super calculated. You can't do anything that you don't have pretty full transparency on, unless you're a guy like Robb Smith, who's kind of at the tail end, who's just collecting paychecks and kind of knows what he is at this point. But if you're a 38-year-old assistant, you need to have all your T's dotted, or all your T's crossed, all your I's dotted, have a really good understanding of where a certain job is from a personnel perspective, from a culture perspective, how much pressure is on the staff and the team right now. Do I think I can help elevate this unit, or am I just kind of being brought in to not necessarily be a fall guy, but like expected to kind of move mountains with this job? Like, yeah, they are 100% dialed in for the most part about what the reality is on the ground with a certain role.
No, that totally makes sense. Thanks for such a thorough answer. I think it's just like the other thing is just, I mean, I don't even know. I have so many questions that I need to like start writing them down or just texting Richie like I do every day, because it's just, I got the main line tapped right into me, but it's just, yeah, it's just so disheartening. It's like, you feel like, like 2 years ago, they might be getting out of it. And then it's just DC gets a head coaching job. Okay. That's awesome. And then it's like, you can't even sell that to anyone that you just got, like, even though it was a UMass, right? Like that just like seems like such a sellable thing. And it's like, there's a stink around Rutgers and working for him that's so bad that it's like being here twice in a row is definitely eye-opening.
Yeah, no, it's, I think we all kind of like get ourselves not worked up, but we every offseason, like you have to have an irrational amount of hope as a Rutgers fan in order to like stick around. The sane ones who graduated leave fandom at the door when they graduate, because it's hard to be a Rutgers fan. There's just so many situations where things don't break our way, and I wish it wasn't the case, but it just seems like we Rutgers a lot of things up.
Are you screwed?
Yes.
Are you screwed? Exactly.
Oh man. All right. I'll let you guys go. My meetings are done for the day. And after all this news, I might start drinking early. So
enjoy.
Have a good one, guys.
All right. See you, bro.
I mean, Alex already drinking.
I got Gatorade and water. Give me a break. I've been sick.
Lean early, Alec.
Yeah.
All right, so that's kind of all we got on the DC search. As we always do, any kind of updates, breaking news, we'll always go to the boards first, which is the Rutgers On 3 site, the night report. Are there any deals right now, Rich, if somebody's trying to get signed up?
Yeah, you could sign up right now. It's still for $1. Just I would say don't go get that coffee, but coffee's about like $4 or $5 now too. So just don't get coffee don't get I don't even know what you can buy for $1 anymore. I don't even think you can buy a candy bar for $1.
You can get like 2 Hershey Kisses for $1.
Basically.
crazy.
Don't get your 2 Hershey Kisses for the day, and there you go. You can sign up for the site. So no promo code, just go sign up, and it's literally $1. But yeah, this is bad. Not good.
So, Rich, I've heard a lot of people kind of call you out on this, and I want to give you the platform to talk about it once again. Like, I do want to put the designation that like all information is time sensitive in a sense, where like just because somebody says something and it's true that day, a week later, a lot of circumstances could have changed. I want to just lead into that with sorry.
Yeah, no, that's my fault. I cut you off. If you asked me last night, or between us, we were talking about, we all thought Lazinski was going to be the guy. It was done deal. Like, it sounds like he's the top candidate. I had one guy say, like, it sounds like it's going to happen. It's over. It's like, let's go. 60 days. Finally. Thank God. Within 2 to 3 hours after that, it's like, yeah, no, it's not happening. You turned him down. It's like, oh, wait a second. Like, what just happened? So, like, in terms of this one from the athletic department, they said they're very confident they're going to get a guy that will elevate Greg's defense. They're very confident they will do what it takes to get that guy. That guy still has to say yes at the end of the day. These guys are like going from like, it sounds like they're going to lean towards yes to now, oh no, hold on. They talked to someone and they're like, actually, maybe this isn't good for my career. Maybe I should rethink this one. So that's just the way it works. It's like some days it's super positive, and then like within 24 hours, it just is like, yeah, no, never mind. He said no. Like, all right, next guy down the line, down the list. And it's just like, man, it's bad.
Yeah. And there's always a number of things that are not really knowable. Like, a coach may want to take a job. A coach may, be all about it, but like there might be circumstances off the field that kind of make him stay at a certain job.
Look at the Chris O'Leary situation.
Yeah.
Like, some family things he wanted to stay close to. And obviously you can't turn down the NFL. Like, to go from a G5 to the NFL DC in the same exact role is like unheard of. And that's just something he couldn't turn down. He turned down multiple Power 4 schools this offseason to say, no, I don't want to leave. I'm staying at Western Michigan. I have family things here that I have to take care of. And it happens with recruiting. It's almost very, very similar to recruiting with this coaching search, or coaching searches in general, because it just moves like this. All right, we need you to commit, or your offer's not there anymore. All right, you're not going to commit. All right, next, go to the next guy.
Yep.
And like some of them, like who was it? Tyrell Simpson, the offensive tackle, stayed down in Virginia because he needed to be close to home, close to family. So it's just how it works sometimes.
And if you look at like some of the hot boards that we put together, like pretty dead on with like a lot of those guys being, Power 4 defensive coordinator candidates. You saw Vince Karras go from Toledo to Syracuse. You saw Rob Ulrich go from San Diego State to Nebraska. Chris O'Leary, a lot of people were like, why are we hiring from the MAC? Blah, blah, blah. The guy gets a freaking NFL defensive coordinator job. I don't think anybody saw that coming as like the next stop in his career, but that's where he ended up. I feel like Tyler Stockton is still being slept on a bit, who was the co-DC at Boise State. He just got a new job at Michigan, I believe, is their safeties coach. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of the guys we pointed out as targets did get pretty significant upgrades in their career this offseason, or decided to stay where they're at. So I don't know. I think people just need to stop just blink shitting on candidates because they have never heard their name or something like that, or because of the school name next to their profile. I don't know. I'm getting off my soapbox now.
San Diego State gross. Like, no, it's worked out pretty well.
I guess at this point, because I don't think we ever did it on the podcast. Might as well just go through like Lazinski's I guess profile for shits and giggles at this point, because it's probably not going to happen. But I mean, he's a guy with a lot of Northeast ties. Went to Notre Dame High School in Lawrenceville, and then played at Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. Funny thing there. He's originally from Newtown, Pennsylvania, which is right across the river. And then he's worked, like I said, a lot in the Northeast, Holy Cross, UConn under Bob Diaco, Lafayette, and then he went to Notre Dame. So he has a ton of ties to the Northeast in this area. He's worked with some interesting names as well. Whether it was at UConn with someone like Anthony Poindexter. The credit to Richie for putting together that entire list yesterday.
Well, Julian Kempenny was a defensive lineman when he was a GA there.
Yeah,
that's John McNulty at Notre Dame. They were coaches together.
Yeah, worked at Lafayette with
John Garrett.
Jason Garrett. No,
yeah, there's a Jason's the Cowboys guy. John
Garrett. Yeah,
Lafayette
wide receiver. Coach. Yeah,
Lafayette. There's some solid coaches on that Lafayette team. Where two of their linebackers that he coached earned all conference honors.
Gordon Samus is now the TCU OC. Like he was the offensive staff.
Yeah, he was the offensive line coach on that UConn or Lafayette staff, I should say. Wow. Justin Hines is the defensive line coach. He's now the Seattle Seahawks defensive line coach. He's a Woodbridge, New Jersey guy. Now, there is absolutely no way he leaves being the Seahawks defensive line coach to being a collegiate defensive coordinator, but he is from New Jersey, played at Rowan, coached at Wagner, so that's a cool connection to have. But yeah,
like the whole list of that coaching staff is crazy, actually, because Luke Thompson's now the head coach at South Dakota State. Like that Lafayette staff was wild. Who knows, actually, because he did end up getting fired. So
they went 3-8.
Yep, sounds about right.
That's surprising.
That's very 2016 Rutgers-esque.
Like, 2017 is when he was there.
Bunch of coaches
that was the wrong year. 2017 they also went 3-8. Okay.
Yep, very 2016 Rutgers-esque, where all the coaches end up with really good jobs down the line, and it's just that
college football, man. It's strange. They lost to Ola Adams and Villanova 59-0.
Jeez. Saw this question in the chat. I'm just going to shut this down real quick. 0.0 chance. Like, it's just not happening. He's not giving up UMass to go back to Rutgers. Like, people need to throw that one out the window. Makes more money at UMass, too. And he's a head coach at UMass. If he could turn it around, which he'll have time to because it's such a down in the dumps program, he will probably end up getting a better job. So I'll have to just wait and see what he could do there. But I think he at least gets 2 more years.
Yeah, I agree.
Down bad. Don't worry, Hoops will pick us up.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of down bad, Rutgers basketball on a 5-game losing streak is playing their second of 2 West Coast games against UCLA tonight. I think they're a 14.5-point underdog against the Bruins. I think they've performed a little, maybe even more than a little bit better. They've performed better than expected in the Big Ten schedule thus far, but they are hitting kind of the meat of the schedule now. And we'll see how long those kind of above expectation performances can continue. But generally, I'm a little surprised with how good good in a relative sense, but how good the basketball team has looked against Big Ten competition.
So I only saw this because the Are You Screw Pod guys posted this. Very similar shot charts. So they both play booty ball, but so that's the good news. Rutgers might be able to compete against the booty ball team. The bad news is they're really good at attacking the paint. So Rutgers doesn't have a paint defender.
Yeah, this is going to have to be another one of those like really strong Emmanuel Bullock games. Also, something that kind of is interesting in Ken Palm's average 2-point distance metric. Rutgers is 358th nationally, and UCLA is 356th nationally.
Oh, that's also almost last. Jeez.
By the way, there's 365 teams in Division I, so expect to see a lot of mid-range shots.
Great. I feel like they'll put up a fight. I feel like they could cover. But Mick Cronin's also a really good coach. So
yeah, and they're a solid defensive team. If you look at their Ken Palm, they're 50th in offense, 43rd in defense efficiency. Yep. So they're kind of a solid all around team. They foul a lot. Their defensive free throw percentage. Sorry. So for whatever reason, teams don't shoot free throws very well or they shoot very well against them on free throws. They take a lot of mid-range shots. They on offense and on defense, they don't shoot a lot of they don't shoot and allow a lot of threes. So we'll see if Rutgers bucks that trend. I would say probably not. In a game, they'll probably need to shoot a lot of threes. This is just one of those games where it seems like, UCLA is the more talented team. They got Donovan Dent, who had a really rough start to the year, but he's kind of picked it up as the year's gone on. Tyler Bilodeau and Eric Daly are two really good forwards that Rutgers is going to have to deal with. So Dylan Grant and Darren Buchanan are going to have their hands full, I'm sure. Sky Clark, again, dealt with some injury.
Wow.
I think he's been back recently, but this is going to be a tough one. It's going to be a real tough one to come away victorious. I mean, we've seen stranger things happen, but still, Rutgers' only 2 wins in Big Ten play have come against two of the 4 teams that are below them in the standings. So this is going to be a tough one. I just think UCLA is the more talented team, and if UCLA is able to get to the basket and make a lot of things happen, it's going to be it's probably not going to go well. I mean, they allow a good amount of offensive rebounds, so that could be a potential point for Rutgers. We know Steve Pikiell's has hammered the rebounding all year long, especially on the offensive side. So we'll see if that could potentially be an X factor. So we'll see.
Yeah. 9:30 tonight, BTN, late one. I'm not sure how many fans will stay up for that one, but
latest tip-off of the season. And UCLA is coming off of a double overtime loss to Indiana. Granted, they've had 4 days off, so or 3 days off, I should say. So they're probably fully recovered from that. Rutgers just had to go through like a crazy end of game thing as well, where they had to put together a bunch of possessions, scoring possessions in a row. So we'll see.
I don't think that means much, to be honest. Maybe that's just me, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Rutgers is now, I'm sure, fully adjusted to being out west because they've been out since, I want to say Thursday, I think they went out. So by Tuesday, I would assume you're fully adjusted. So I don't know. I think it's just going to come down to the fact that UCLA is the more talented team. KenPom has it. KenPom projects a 78-63 win for UCLA. So that's kind of where I'm thinking as well. I just think the UCLA is the more talented team, so we'll see how that goes.
I got nothing else, to be honest with you. I think that's really it. It's just it's a not so quiet day, but quieter now that certain names dropped out.
It sure is, but we will keep you guys as up to date as possible with the latest in the DC search, the latest in recruiting. I don't think they're done in the transfer portal, but that might be quiet until the spring semester ends. It's kind of the read on. I think the last day to enroll was last week, so I don't think you can add any more people, even if you wanted to, for the spring semester.
Yep.
But we will have you covered, wall-to-wall coverage for Rutgers sports. I want to thank everybody for listening live midday on a Tuesday in February. We had, almost 1,000 people at one point in here. So I want to thank everybody for joining. But hopefully the next time we talk to you, we'll have some more concrete news. But unfortunately, this is what we got for you right now. But for me, for Alec, for Richie, I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank our sponsor, FanDuel, once again. Hopefully we'll be back in your feed soon. But for now, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.